welcome to Joy in Our Town. I am your host, Ann Farrell Tata, and it is my pleasure to welcome today to the show Kristin Cuthriell. Kristin is a licensed clinical social worker with Eden Counseling Center, and she treats patients that have depression, anxiety, relationship issues, and low self-esteem. She has a blog, and she's coming out in January with a new book called The Snowball Effect: How to Build Positive Momentum in Your Life. And the premise of this book is about moving forward and how to move forward. And often when we move forward, we have to let go of some of the destructive patterns from our past. And today we're going to be specifically talking about two areas: explosive reactions, which can destroy people's health and relationships, and then harsh self-judgments and how self-compassion can actually improve relationships. And this is very timely because we're getting closer to the holidays, and while it's a wonderful time of year, it's a very stressful time of year. So welcome to the program, Kristin, and let's start with explosive reactions and what are they and why you are so passionate about this topic.
Well, I want to start by thanking you for having me here today. I am very passionate about this topic. Explosive reactions are when we react off pure emotion alone without thinking through how we want to react. And when we react with our emotions in the driver's seat and the logical reasoning part of our brain kind of shut down, we usually do things that we regret, we say things we regret, and then it brings us a whole lot of shame. So to move forward in life, one thing that many people would benefit from is to learn how to stop those outbursts of anger, to be able to basically retrain their brain to slow down and think before they react, because anytime you think before you respond to any kind of event or situation, you're probably going to be more effective in that. And I am so passionate about this because, first of all, learning how to be patient and calm down, whether you're in traffic or trying to get your kids off to school, or things that may go on in your marriage, whatever it is, being able to stop and think about what you're going to say before you actually say it has really, it's helped me, it's helped my husband, it's helped our marriage. I've seen it help many people that I've worked with. I feel like explosive reactions have harmed people's health. It causes there's an increased risk of heart disease. It can compromise the immune system. Explosive reactions have filled prisons, filled cemeteries, destroyed relationships. So I feel like if we're going to move forward in life, this is really something we can benefit from knowing how to control.
Well, that is a good point, and no wonder you're passionate if there's hope for people, because it sounds so hopeless if you can't get that under control. So can you give us an example about, a specific example from your book about people that, or someone who has a problem with reacting explosively?
Absolutely. One situation comes to mind, and I did include it in my book. Of course, I've had to change names and certain identifying information to protect clients' confidentiality. But I can tell you, I did include in my book a case where a woman came in and she was telling me the story about how she was trying to get out the door to work. She was trying to get her kids ready for school. Her 6-year-old was having a tantrum, something about, she was trying to comb her hair, and the 6-year-old didn't want her hair combed.
Sounds like my house.
And yeah, I can relate to that. And she was she was actually throwing herself on the floor, and her mother was explaining how she just got so frustrated, and she said something like, "You're acting like you're two. Things were so much easier before you were born." And,
oh, no.
And as the mom was telling me this story, she was sobbing, and she was saying how she felt like she had destroyed her daughter's spirit, and how much she loved her daughter, and she didn't mean to say any of those things. I mean, she was telling me how wonderful, her daughter was just such a blessing in her life. And so, in situations like that I think at one time or another, we've all probably, it might not be that same situation, but at one time or another, we've probably all said something or in the heat of the moment that we regret.
Everyone, I'm sure everyone can identify with that and relate to that, but why do we often react without thinking? I mean, what happens in our brain that is making us react like this so quickly?
Well, there's been a lot of brain research. Neurologists have really found that the emotional part of our brain, the part of our brain that perceives threat, responds to fear, responds to anger.
The fight or flight.
Right. It responds about 10 times faster than the problem-solving, logical, reasoning part of our brain.
Oh my goodness.
And if we were being chased by a wild animal or something,
we'd be prepared.
Yeah, it really may benefit us because we wouldn't have to think about what to do. Like you said, fight or flight. We would probably just be gone. But today it ends up causing us a lot of problems.
Well, can you give us some tools or techniques to what we can do to overcome this fight or flight nature that's innate in us, but not necessary these days?
Yeah, our brain is wired to respond off of emotion first. However, we really can practice certain techniques and actually retrain our brain. And some of those techniques that I have been practicing and I found work with me, and I'm finding that they've worked with a whole lot of other people as well, are first really paying attention, being mindful of your body sensations, knowing when you are about to explode. The body sensations can really be, they can be different for everybody. Your face may turn red, it may flush, you may clench your teeth, clench your fist, you may feel tension in your shoulders. Knowing when your anger is being triggered is the first key to being able to do what I call, to be inserting a pause in between the triggering event, the thing that has made you upset, and your reaction.
That pause is so important.
Absolutely. The pause is very important. Matter of fact, a neurologist and psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl, said between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. And in that space, we have the power to choose our response. And in our response is our power and freedom. Meaning that a lot of times, and a lot of times it's not as much the event that gets us, going in the wrong direction. It's our reaction to that event. And if we practice enough, recognizing our body sensations, going into that pause, then we actually, instead of going into an automatic reaction, we go into an automatic pause.
Oh, yeah.
And within that pause, it gives our reasoning part of our brain time to catch up.
Wow, yeah.
And
well, when you is talking about your book and moving forward and letting go of some of this past, but as your example with the mom and the daughter, which again I think so many people can identify with, part of that is letting go of that destructive behavior. But how could that mother let that go? And I'm sure she's beating herself up in the aftermath. How can she move on and let that go?
The best thing to do in that situation is to probably recognize that everybody makes mistakes. I would recommend that she talk to her daughter. Tell her daughter she's sorry. Apologize. Tell her how much she loves her. It's going to be wasted energy if she beats herself up. It's one of those things where it's a learning opportunity. She can tell her daughter how sorry she is, and then learn to insert that pause. there's some other things when you're experiencing inserting that pause. What do you do during that pause? There are things you can do. You can pray. During that pause, you can play the tape through, and playing the tape through is extremely powerful. It's an extremely powerful technique because you're taking the time to think about the consequences of your action. What is going to happen if I hit him? What's going to happen if I say these things? And
that's great. That's great. If, as you said, to take that time and just even a pause, a moment, and rethink what you're going to do, what your next step is. So you're saying that you can retrain your brain to do that, and over time, by practicing, this is something that is available for everyone.
Absolutely.
That's so encouraging.
We really can retrain our brain to react when things anger us in a different way.
So, and you've seen this in your practice too.
I have.
So you have anecdotal stories of people that have actually learned how to move forward.
Right, and that's what, and those are some of the things I write about. I write about the other techniques and stories of people that have had success doing this.
Well, we're going to go to a break in a few minutes, and I really want you to, I know people are going to be really interested in this because, as I said, I know this is something that everybody can deal with, especially parenting. That can bring just the anger when you're trying to, working and you're trying to get out of the house and you're trying to get your kids to school, or you're trying to get them to do homework or into bed, whatever the case, it seems like that's a very common thing in families. So I'd like you to tell everyone about your website. You have a website, and your book is coming out in January, and again, that's the Snowball Effect, and so I'd love for you to tell the viewers where your website and how they can reach you for more information about that.
My website and my blog is at thesnowballeffect.com, and I write parenting tips, relationship tips, inspirational stories. I take psychological techniques and strategies and write them in really easy to understand, easy to digest ways. So it's thesnowballeffect.com.
And you have your blog, you have different categories of topics.
I do. I do.
Yeah,
yes.
And are you writing on a daily basis or a weekly, or are you?
I usually post about 3 times a week.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's great to have. So when we come back, we are going to be we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about the harsh self-judgment and the different ways that can stop us from moving forward. But you're going to give us some information about doing self-compassion, which is a much better way to live. So we will be back. Stay with us with Kristin Cuthriell, and we hope you'll join us for the second part of this show. Welcome back to Joy in Our Town. I'm Ann Farrell-Tata, and I am delighted to be here today with Kristin Cuthriell. And we have been talking about her new book, The Snowball Effect, and that is how to build a positive momentum in your life. And we now are going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to be talking about another area that people deal with, and that is giving up harsh self-judgments. Can you explain what you mean by harsh self-judgments?
Yes, I can. A lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. I'll start by saying that. It's really the things people say to themselves, not out loud. Well, sometimes I guess it could be out loud, but thinking or saying, I'm worthless, I'm stupid, I'm ugly, I can't do it, I'll never be good at anything. These are the kind of harsh self-judgments that get people spiraling down.
Where does that come from? Does it come from their upbringing or just bad experiences?
It can be upbringing. It can be bad experiences. It can come from all kinds of different places. The important thing to note, though, is a lot of the time, these ideas that people have in their head, these negative, harsh self-judgments, they're all in their head. In order to move forward in life and to build positive momentum in your relationships, it's important to be able to let that go.
Because a lot of these harsh judgments, they actually impose that on other people. When they're really, it's sort of, they're putting themselves down, but what it manifests is as it comes out against other people.
You're absolutely right. Harsh judgments absolutely can negatively affect relationships.
Can you give us an example of that?
If I'm walking around thinking that I'm stupid, then I may project that onto other people, which means I'm assuming that they must think I'm stupid too. And I may be more aggressive, I may walk around with a chip on my shoulder. I'm placing my own thoughts about myself onto other people, and that does happen a lot.
So, and then the opposite of that obviously would be self-compassion, and how do you retrain your brain to start loving yourself?
Well, there are certain techniques, again, that people can learn to be more compassionate with themselves. The first thing they need to do is to recognize they're doing it. You can't change anything if you don't know you're doing it. So it's about being mindful of the things you think about yourself and the things you say about yourself. And then it's catching yourself in the act, catching yourself doing it.
I bet a lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. They're so used to hearing these voices in their head that it's become a part of the fabric of who they are.
Right, right. And it really is not good for their health, their self-esteem. Think what happens to a child if that child is always told that they were worthless, good for nothing, stupid, these type of things. Many of us do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And think what it does to our self-esteem if we're always walking around putting ourselves down.
So can you, when a patient comes into your office, can you kind of spot that right away? Because it probably, they may not recognize that they're doing it, but then it, as I said, it presents as problems in their relationship. So when they come in and they complain of a certain thing that's going on in their life, can you sort of determine quickly that this is probably involves some harsh self-judgment?
Absolutely, and that's one thing that I help them with, helping them during the session recognize that they're doing it.
Now, when you talk about, I know when we hear self-love and self-compassion, immediately probably some people will think narcissism, because you don't want to be too in love with yourself. So can you sort of differentiate between self-love and narcissism? Absolutely,
absolutely. There's a big difference. You can be self-compassionate and you can have self-love and you can still be humble. Self-compassion and self-love is not about putting yourself above anybody else. Really, at the root of narcissism is a deep-rooted insecurity. It's trying to, maybe even on an unconscious level, trying to overcompensate for that deep-rooted insecurity. Someone who is full of self-love and self-compassion is better able to be empathic, feel others' pain, be compassionate towards others. They're better able to admit their mistakes, because you see, when they make a mistake, they have enough self-compassion, have enough self-confidence that they know that that mistake doesn't make them worthless. Matter of fact, people who have a lot of self-compassion and people who have a lot of self-love are able to look at their mistakes as learning opportunities. And this can make relationships better.
Oh, yeah.
You can be, instead of blaming somebody else, you can, you're more accountable. You can own your stuff, and you can know that people who are more self-compassionate, they don't really, they may strive for excellence, but they don't demand that they're perfect all the time.
They're easier on themselves, right?
They are. They are. And that can improve relationships when two people can own their stuff.
Now, you talk in your book about the self-compassionate people. They actually experience greater intimacy in their relationships. And I guess that's what you're sort of saying, that it enables you, if you can laugh at yourself and tell on yourself, you'll have greater intimacy because there's nothing to hide.
You're right. You're right. True emotional intimacy involves vulnerability. It is the willingness to take that risk, to take off your social mask, to really let somebody else know who you are, with your strengths, your limitations. You're able to embrace that all, and you let somebody really know you. And if you're full of self-compassion, and you're pretty good with who you are, it's okay to let somebody know that you're vulnerable. It's okay to let somebody know your fears, your insecurities.
So what's the process to help somebody that is experiencing this, that is so hard on themselves? Is it a lifelong progression? Can they develop tools and techniques over a matter of months, or what hope can you offer to these people that, because I know there are a lot of people that walk around with just this self-condemnation.
Right. Well, first of all, I will tell you that kind of change is not immediate. Because if you've been telling yourself something for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's going to take a little while to change the way you think, to change your perspective even about yourself. Whether it's months or years, it just depends. It depends on how much you're working on catching yourself in the act. Some other techniques after you catch yourself in the act of putting yourself down would be to maybe try to figure out where that came from. Were you told these things as a child? Were you bullied at school? Maybe it was somebody, and often it is somebody else's insecurity and somebody else's wound that put those ideas in your head. Most of the time, it had nothing to do with the person that received those negative messages. And it's really important to note that we're not looking at where these came from to blame. Part of my book is letting go of resentment. We want to move forward.
Yes.
We're not looking at where they came from so we can blame somebody.
Is it important to identify it and then move forward, or is it sometimes better to not even figure out why it is? Just move
I
forward?
think it really depends. Some people may just rather move forward. The only reason it may be helpful to know where it comes from is not because you want to be resentful, but because then you can challenge the validity of that message. Then you may realize, you know what? It was more about them than me. And these messages really aren't valid. And then you can begin to basically reparent yourself. Tell yourself positive messages.
Well, that's another thing you talk about, that self-compassionate people are actually less aggressive. They can admit and learn from their mistakes, and they're accountable for their actions. So it sounds like a very healthy person who is, the root of that is security in knowing who they are. And that's what you find. Right.
And those mistakes that they make don't make them feel worthless.
And the people that are just, they've experienced this harsh self-judgment, there is hope for them, that they can begin to stop those voices, silence the voices.
Absolutely. They will come to where when they make a mistake, they will look at it like a learning opportunity. They will know they still have worth. They won't just think that they won't go from all to none.
That must be so gratifying in your practice to see these people making this kind of progress and discovering a whole new person.
It's really neat to see.
So now on your website, if people go to your website and can they have dialogue with you? Can they post things and you respond to them?
They can. I usually respond to all comments.
Oh, that's
If somebody
good.
leaves a comment on my website, it may take me sometimes a couple days. But I really look forward to hearing from people, and I learn. I learn from my clients. I learn from my clients every time I see them.
I'm sure.
I also learn from people who read and comment.
Well, Kristin, this has been such great information, and I know you're a big blessing to your clients and your patients. And I want you to tell again. Oh, you said you had a poem that you wanted to share.
Oh. I just wanted to share this with you. This was something I would, when I did a lot of therapy groups, I haven't done any in a little bit, but I used to read at the end of the therapy groups, and I am not the author. The author is unknown, so if anybody knows the author, if you know the author, please let me know. But I love it. We so often in life get caught up in some of the little things, and then we get blind to the magic in life. And sometimes those little things we just need to not let them stick to us. And I feel like this poem kind of speaks to that. It's called Let Life In. When you're full of yourself, there is no room left for anything else. Let go of concerns of self and let in more the goodness of life. When your mind is filled with worries, those worries begin to come to life. Let go of worries and let in an awareness of the positive possibilities that surround you. When your heart is filled with anger and resentment, there is no place left for love to dwell. Let go of the anger and let in the joy of love. Open your heart, open your mind, and open yourself to the positive possibilities of each moment. Let in the beauty, let in the joy, let in the richness of life. Stop holding on to the disappointment of the past. Open yourself to the treasures of right now. Let the moment be and let life in.
That is beautiful. Let life in. That's a great way to end the show. And again, Kristin, your book, The Snowball Effect, How to Build Positive Momentum in Your Life, wish you the best with that.
Thank you.
And your website, The Snowball Effect. And for us to know, we are very excited that you can catch this show also on the Facebook page. We are now on Facebook, facebook.com/TBNVA. Thank you so much for joining us today.
This program has been sponsored by the Trinity Broadcasting Network and made possible by your telethon dollars. Your continual support can keep Joy in Our Town brought to your home every day. So write Joy in Our Town, P.O. Box A, Santa Ana, California, 92711.